So your job titles is Chief Futurists. What is it? What does a Chief Futurist do actually?
What does a Chief Futurist do? Well, a Chief Futurist looks into the future possibilities, the many, many futures possible. Many people think there's one future. We say in the future. I'm always thinking, which one? Which one will you build? What will you choose? What are the opportunities you look at? And that's what we do in our lab, in the Future Hub, as it is called, to try to understand what's desirable futures from all the possible ones, and which ones of the desirable ones we want to bring to the market within SAP within 5, 10, maybe 15 years. So we build visions for SAP. That's what a futurist does.
And what exactly are desirable futures from your perspective?
Well, I think a desirable future is one where people feel in the center of their own work. When they're augmented to take decisions they can't take today. I think we all been there. We're looking at some data and we go, oh, what is this? How can I make sense out of it? How can I be strategic? How do I take a first step of 10 steps in my leadership? If they don't know, they need to be augmented. They need to be sort of lifted up to a decision power with new technologies that augment them to take these decisions, strategic or personal. And then we also need to have autonomous systems. It's not only that we need to automate everything, because then it goes in the dark, we never see it again. It needs to be automated in such a way that it's intelligent, that it thinks of it on its own and presents that augmentation back to the decision maker. The smartest person in the rooms will still be a person 20 years from now, and I want to augment that person to some kind of a superhuman decision-making power. You open?
It sounds like a wild future to me.
Yeah, absolutely. A happy future. That's a desired future for everybody. But we have to carefully choose out of many possibilities which one you want to go for. And you can't just go for by accident. You need to make a plan for it. You need to articulate the desired future so that you can go there. The 10 steps Martin talked about, the 10th needs to be done first so that you can take the first and second in that right direction.
What helps you making these decisions?
Sorry?
They are bold decisions. What helps you making these decisions?
What helps us to make decisions? I think it's data that we can understand as human beings. I think everything that comes your way, it feels sometimes like a tsunami, like a change wave after wave after wave. But if you understand what this data can mean, and if it's compared to your personal ambitions, your company's ambitions, your prospects, your visions maybe even, the abstract that we cannot compute on today, which we will be able to compute in tomorrow, we can connect your visions, your perspectives, the whole planet as a resource. You know, SAP has been for 15 years managing ERP, which is Enterprise Resource Planning. There's one resource we are including, and it's the planet and the people for your profit. And that is a decision making that is so complex that we need to augment and explain and make it tangible for the people in front of that data. And that's what we aim to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. In your keynote today, you raised the question, how can you stay ultra relevant in the future ecosystem? I guess it was referring to professional life. What is your answer to this question?
Well, the answer is that you can't answer it right now. Because if you can, you haven't thought about it. It's a question to think about. It's a rhetorical question. Why am I relevant right now? What does the market pull me into? What do I want to produce to that market? It's about building a relationship with those people that will consume your goods, your services, and so on. So I urge you, the answer to that question is what relationships with what people will you have? And how fruitful and positive they can be for you, the people, and the planet, and the profit you have together. And then you can start to unpack that question. But for us, right now, the direction for that question is humans in the center of their own work, taking decisions for the whole planet, the people, and the profit on it.
What skills to...
Yeah. Let him also fill it.
Yeah, absolutely. And like Martin said, why you're relevant for 10 years from now, to put a frame so we can think. Because, and if you cannot answer that question, not right now, but if you cannot articulate the potential answer to that, maybe you're not relevant in the end. And that's even worse than actually being present and not being relevant. Imagine that. That's not the future you want.
What skills or what kind of skills do you need for this future, and how can we build them?
The skills of the future, it is imagination, it is creativity. It is a ability to take risk. All these things that we are born with, like kids, but are taught away or destroyed by schools and sometimes corporate education and corporate careers. We rather stagnate. We rather manage what we know because that makes us look good. The future is all about trying to manage things you do not know. And this is where the augmentation, if I don't know something, I need to be, heightened up to the ability to know, to take risks, calculate on it, and build relationships I don't have yet, to combine things that seem not combinable. That takes boldness and risk, courage, and also this enormous human curiosity and imagination. So I tell you, if you don't have an imagination department, you should build one and try to find people that are curious enough that will work there, because that's your future department. That's the answer to why you're relevant 10 years from now.
Do we need more women in future departments like yours?
Yes, it's not only women. Women would be the first diversity we need. Because it's the biggest group that has been totally discriminated. The patriarchy has basically taken over business and society since decades, hundreds and thousands of years. That must end. I mean, I lived in Sweden for 27 years where we quote women into business. And I think that should be done across the globe. We tried the other thing for 5,000 years. It didn't work. It just did not work. And that's a fact. And if you try to fight that fact, I think you're fighting, that Don Quixote fight. So I would like to change that to start with. But that's not enough. We need diversity in innovation. If you don't innovate, you won't survive, period. So goodbye. But if you do innovate, to have one great idea, you have to first have many, many different ideas. And to have many different ideas, you don't need people that look like me only. Gray men with beards. You need diversity. Otherwise, you will not innovate. So diversity is equal to innovation.
I think you have your own vision of diversity, diverse future.
No, he said that pretty much. So diversity is not only a gender diversity. We need to respect the diversity in thoughts, in backgrounds, in various cultural richness that somebody can bring to the table, because that gives such a big and different boosters. Like I said, many different ideas will eventually lead you to some potentially really big ideas. And they will not come from just one country, person, or a area, right?
Let's talk about the Future Hub of SAP. So why do you actually have a Future Hub? Why do you need one? And what are you guys doing there?
So why do we need a Future Hub? Well, to lead from the future is a little bit different job than to lead from what you know. Today, everybody here, being an executive, they try to gather that data that they maybe sometimes do not even understand because it's so much to consider, so complex. And they try to forecast, they try to progress, extrapolate that data. What could it be from where we are, what we have, and what we know, and who we are with, all the knowns. That's good. This is how we go to market with current stuff. But that's not transformative innovation. That's actually not transformation. That's exploitation of what you already know. The other part of that is exploration. I usually say, everybody here is really good in doing things right. They execute in the right way, they optimize, they're effective and efficient, and they run very fast and efficiently in a direction. And I ask them, what's the direction? So doing things right is very good, but first you need to find the right things to do. So Nokia didn't, Blockbusters didn't, and we can go on forever, did not. You can even question if the German auto industry is doing the right things or just doing them right. I'm not judging, I'm just reflecting the questions out there. Future Hub within SAP is trying to find the right things to do, the desirable futures from all the possible ones already now, so we can take the first step and do them right. Anything there to add, Upen?
No, and one of the amazing stuff about Future Hub is, again, this is combination of how we move from the future foresights that we build and move them into narratives, because without narratives people cannot really understand, because if you imagine it, then you can shape it. If you shape it and share it, then you can build it. And that's how we move from looking at future foresights to really building the concept cars, showing it to you, say, oh yeah, but wait a second, I can contribute to this because I have a designer who can do the aerodynamics well. Great, bring them on board. And that's what Future Hub also helps, by creating those narratives, concept cars, so that we can set those effective steps in the right direction again. But not by a white paper or theory, but by showing that potential.
Maybe one last question. In uncertain times like these we are in right now, how can organizations and decision makers ensure to not lose sight of their future vision they have?
Yes, I think that question is valid. How to not lose sight of the future? That question is valid at any point, at any time, and any situation of your organization. Because if you can't answer that question, you don't know where you're going. And I'm coming back to the idea, many people want to hit a target. They want to sell so much. They want to enter a market. It's the target. It's an objective for them. There is a philosopher, Schopenhauer. He said, talent hits the targets nobody can hit, so you win the market. The genius, the one that eats talent alive, basically, is the one that hits the targets nobody can see. So what do you see? What is your vision? Where are you going before you're going there in the right, effective, and optimal way? And I think this is always the right time to look forward, especially when it's tough. The risk, if you don't do this, is that you dive into the wave of despair, the difficulties, the supply chain management that doesn't work, the war, and so on. There will be a new wave of difficulties. If you want to dive through all waves, you will get tired. You need to get sort of a surfboard to surf on the waves of knowledge. And the only way to do that is to have a clear vision. Tell this to everybody. Bring a strategy how to bring that vision to life and start to execute on it. But if you execute and without the vision, you're running fast, blind.
Your take on that?
Maybe one more thing to add. It's often forgotten, and we cannot stress it enough, is the people. In that vision, having people at the center of everything we do, when you see it through the eyes of the people, right? Because most often, the people are seen to be problems in the transformation. That's actually wrong. It's people who are the transformation. So it's not about the 20% people who need to be trained and upskilled. It's about the other 80% who are driving and taking you forward in that transformation. And transformation is not a project. It is continuous. We need to plan for continuous transformation on and on, right?
Can I add to that? You can cut it. You will cut it down to 30 seconds anyway.
We won't.
You won't. There is this. We say this internally at Future Hub. We have a mission to know and show what's next for SAP in the future of work. Big company, big mission. To know is to gather, to understand, to do what we're doing right now, to try to figure out, to show. It builds concept cars. And we said, why are we relevant 10 years from now? And I'm coming back to this. It's always year one. They will not be a year two. You need to always move together with the future. Otherwise, you're falling behind. So guys, it's always a beginning. It's always a genesis. It's always year one of the future you're headed to. So why are we relevant 10 years from now? Start today. This is year one.
Sounds like a rough path. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Cheers to the future, as we say.
Cheers to the future.